and new WWE World Champion AJ Styles. I still can't believe it. I know I probably spoiled it for everyone who hasn't watched Backlash yet, but I don't care. I'm shocked. I really am. We live in a world now where the top 3 champions in WWE are Kevin Owens as the Universal Champion, AJ Styles is the WWE World Champion, and Shinsuke Nakamura is the NXT Champion. It's almost impossible to believe that that's true, but it is. Last night, AJ won the title. I saw the pay-per-view. I was rooting for AJ the entire time, but I didn't believe that WWE was actually going to pull the trigger on it and just let the story fold on itself like they've done in the past. But no, they took the momentum that Styles had and just ran with it and had him win. Great. But I'll talk more about that as we go through the card. So Backlash. So let's get more into Backlash, shall we? Backlash was a very good show. There was a lot of fun into the show. There were a lot of good things about it. There were only probably 2 matches that weren't good, and one of them you're gonna disagree with me heavily on. But let's start with the open. And let's start with the beginning of the show. It's like Shane and Bryan came out and they just welcomed people to the show, and they announced that the first match of the night would be the six-pack challenge for the women's championship, for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Okay, on a side note, before we get into this, I haven't talked about this, so belt designs. Yeah, I want to get into that a little bit before we begin with the matches. So, the new SmackDown belts. Gotta say, I was real disappointed. You see, when they first started the brand split, I knew that they had to do that they were going to get new titles. And I wanted that. I wanted the new world title. They introduced the Universal Championship. Stupid name, but hey, a stupid name doesn't mean the belt is terrible. And then they show the WWE Championship drenched in red paint. Yeah, it was a very lazy and kind of ugly design. So yeah. Sorry, I'm itching a bit. In the nose. So when I first saw that title, I really wanted to just make a video of me screaming my lungs off about how terrible that title is, and it still is, but I really just didn't feel like I had processed it enough to really say anything about it, but everyone else wasn't saying. Hell, the crowd spent most of the match between Finn and Seth. They were just sitting there booing the shit out of the belt, which rightfully is deserved, because that belt is a lazy piece of shit. And again, I'm really hoping that they change it. I would prefer if they brought in the World Heavyweight Championship, but if you're just switching it over to a different design, then I'm good with that. And then SmackDown announces that they will have new tag titles and a new women's title. I was a bit disappointed by that, because I didn't think there was a stable enough tag division or women's division to stay on 2 brands, and that they instead should have had the women's division on one end and the tag division on the other. But okay, so they introduced new belts. And it's the same deal. They took the Women's Championship, which already looks like the WWE Championship, and painted the background blue. And then they took the tag team titles, drenched the straps in blue, and then switched the bronze plates with silver plates. To be honest, the tag titles doesn't look as bad, and then the women's title is okay. But again, you have 4 fucking championships that look exactly the same in design. Why is it that people can't just make an original design for titles? We used to live in an era of the brand split where every title was different. You had the WWE Championship, which was at the time was what the Undisputed Championship looked like when Brock was holding it. That was essentially it. On Raw, you had the big gold belt from WCW, which was a very good design. Then you have the United States Championship, which was I'm not entirely sure how to describe, but you know what the US title looks like. And then you had the oval, and well, that was a little bit pointy in terms of design. You had the Intercontinental Championship, was a little bit more oval in its design. You had the tag team titles, which kind of had a sort of a crown design in a way, if I can describe it like that. Sort of square with a little thing on top, a little round thing on top. Meanwhile, on Raw, you have a bit more oval design for their their tag team championship. I don't exactly remember how the women. I think the women only had one championship, which was this oval design, and then you had the Cruiserweight title, which looked like a miniature version of the WWE Championship. But every title was distinct and different. And now, 4 of the titles are exactly the same. 2 of the are exactly the same. The tag titles are exactly the same. And the only distinct titles are the US and Intercontinental Championship. I was really hoping that you guys would make some, original designs. I really wanted to make some original designs for these belts. They can hold them for a little bit, but I want some new belt designs. But I talked enough about the belts. Let's get into the pay-per-view itself. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. So the women's match. It was good. I felt like the entire show, that the match really did sort of let everyone show off what they could do in the match. Everyone had their spots. Particularly, I saw all new stuff from Naomi. A few botches here and there, but overall, she stepped up her game and did some really well done work. The only one I really didn't feel was doing too much was, honestly, Natalya. Which is weird because she actually eliminated someone with the sharpshooter, but overall she didn't really do anything in the match. She eliminated someone and a few minutes later she was eliminated. But I will say that the right person won. I was hoping Becky would win for a multitude of reasons. One, it would be a nice start to the women's division by having her beat the champion. I mean, she was was in the best match at WrestleMania 32. She has a lot of support, and until last night she was the only one of the 4 horsewomen who had never held a championship. Think about it. Charlotte started off as the NXT Women's Champion. Then Then Sasha took it from her. Becky got an opportunity, but she didn't win it. Bayley was the one who won it from Sasha. So there, all three of them had. Then when Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky got called up, Charlotte was the one who. Sorry about that. Charlotte was the one who ended up winning the Divas Championship. And then when they had the triple threat at WrestleMania, she was the one who walked away with the Women's Championship. Then Sasha beat her for the Women's Championship on Raw. Then she lost it again at SummerSlam. But as you can see, Becky had never held a championship up until this point, which I felt which was why I was a bit, which was why I felt it was a bit weird that, Becky got called up to the main roster when she did, because she hadn't even won a title yet, and I felt like she deserved it. She had really stepped up her game and done some really good stuff. But it's finally happened, guys. She's the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Well done, WWE. You made the right call. Yeah, I can't really say much else. It was a good match. It was a pretty good match. It got everyone to show their stuff. I think Carmella has a decent shot to be a pretty good heel. She just needs a little bit more elevation, and I think her story with Nikki Bella might elevate her to a certain level. So, yeah, we've got some good stuff going here. Next, we have the newly turned heel Usos versus the Hype Bros. The winner goes on to face Heath Slater and Rhino for the SmackDown Women. For the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. This match was alright. We got to show off the Usos a little bit on a new tactic. Like, people have been complaining about the Usos being boring in the past few weeks. In the past few months. I feel like this was the character change that they desperately needed. And I really like this. I like the way that they set things up, and I can finally tell them apart, because they mentioned that Jimmy is the one wrestling in a shirt, while Jay is the one wrestling without one. So I can finally tell them apart, so I don't have to worry about face paint and all that. Just remember, Jimmy wears a shirt, Jay does not. Easy. Sorry, I guess I'm a little bit. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I just had to deal with something. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I like this. Jimmy versus shirt, Jay doesn't, so that's how you tell them apart. I like the way that they did their new tactics, the way that they targeted different things in the match, how they held off Zack for most of the match, and that they had some new moves in their arsenal, targeting the leg and then winning with a submission. That's something we haven't seen before from the Usos. So, well done. You stepped up your game, and yeah, it was a nice showing of the Usos as heels. Well done. I believe the next match is the one I'm. I almost want to save this for later, but you know what? I'm gonna save this one for a little later. Let's just jump ahead to Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. Earlier in the night, we saw that Bray Wyatt attacked Randy Orton backstage and crushed his leg in the door. And when Bray Wyatt came out, an announcer came with a note saying that Randy was not able to compete. So they did Bray Wyatt asked for the 10 count to confirm Randy's forfeit, and thus Bray did win by forfeit. So I still got the prediction right. I know I didn't make a predictions video, but I predicted Bray was going to win, and I was technically right. And then we had Kane versus Bray. So Kane in a no-holds-barred match. I can't say I paid too much attention to this match. By this point, I was a bit tired, and there was another match that happened beforehand that didn't help. I'm gonna get into that later, but this match was okay. There was one spot in the match that was really good, which was Bray doing a senton through the announce table. That was really nice. But overall, the match wasn't really anything worth talking about. And then with Randy coming out, giving Bray an RKO, Kane giving a chokeslam, and winning the match. Probably the worst match of the night. It was really unmemorable. It was there was only one moment that really was worth a damn, and even though it does tell a story, Kane really didn't need this victory, and Bray has been suffering for the past few months. He kind of needed something to push himself up, but nope, that was not what we got. Next, we have the Usos versus Heath Slater and Rhino to determine the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. This was a good match. It wasn't anything special, but it was a decent match. But I think I'm having some sort of cold. That's why I'm not feeling too well. But Slater and Rhino ended up winning. How weird is that? In 2016, Rhino is a champion with Heath Slater. You know, the guy that nobody really cared. Used to know that was really an afterthought in most storylines and everything. Who's really been stepping up his game in terms of character. His wrestling is still not good, but he's overall stepped up his game. And yeah, it was a really nice nice moment for these two. Heath Slater finally has a contract. Rhino and Slater are champions, and yeah, it's interesting to see where they're going with this. This could lead to something good, or it could lead to something terrible. We'll see. Next we have. Well, after that, there was the main event. But I wanted to talk about two specific matches back to back, and sort of talk about them together, because one match was really good, and one match pissed me off. And I know people are going to disagree with me heavily, but I wanted to take some time in this video to talk about this one. Miz versus Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. This match. Something you guys should know about is that I hate Dolph Ziggler. I think he's a terrible wrestler, and he's not a really good character. Sorry. What I'm here's the thing. Ziggler hasn't ever impressed me as a wrestler. He's always doing really either a sloppy move, he's overselling to the point where you don't. Excuse me again. I brought some paper so I can take care of this. Just so I don't have to leave again. So I wanted to give this my full attention. But like I said, Dolph Ziggler has been sloppy in the ring. He oversells to the point where it looks ridiculous. And all of his moves are mostly just. He has nothing really that original as a move apart from the zigzag, I guess. After all, he either rips off Shawn Michaels or Billy Gunn or Triple H in a promo. He just doesn't impress me in any way. And really, I think the WWE would have been better off without him. And then you have The Miz. The Miz is a great heel. The Miz is really good on the mic and does some really good heel stuff. But in the ring, he's not very good. He has never been very good. He's been pretty sloppy and honestly not interesting in the slightest. So walking into this match, I was thinking this match was going to be bad. And shock of all shock, it didn't disappoint me. I told you that there was a match that you guys were going to disagree with me heavily on, and I've seen so many people praise this match, and I thought it was boring as shit. There was nothing in this match that made me care about anything that was going on. No, it felt like it's like most of the moves that they performed were really sloppy. I remember specifically Miz holding Ziggler down on some sort of back stretching submission hold, and he didn't really put any pressure on it. It didn't really feel like he was actually giving Ziggler any sort of submission. It was like Dolph was just lying on top of him and then switched over to pinning him. And then some great heel work by the Miz. I will give them much credit that Miz did some really good heel work, like Miz mocking Daniel Bryan with a yes chant. Miz mocking Daniel Bryan by doing his maneuver. But when he did his maneuver, he didn't get it fully set up. He didn't actually perform said move. He just sort of hastily threw the move together, but couldn't exactly get the hold of it. It felt really sloppy. And again, I hate Miz's figure 4. It really doesn't feel like he's hurting his opponent when he does it. And before you say anything, I know wrestling is scripted, but I think I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I think I finally figured out a question I've been asking myself. What is wrestling to me? Wrestling is where I know wrestling is scripted, but I'm counting on the wrestlers to prove to me that it's not. Like they're supposed to put on a show, especially a title match. If it's for a championship, I want them to show me that this match is not scripted, that they're really fighting for something here, that they really want this belt, this prestigious title. And you know what? We had a match like that, and it was the main event. Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles stepped up their game and fought like they meant it. They threw everything they had at each other. Oh no, they did different things. They had like AJ doing that leg crushing move in the corner, and Ambrose selling it like mad, screaming that it's over, screaming that his leg might be broken. AJ targeting the leg and then setting him in the calf crusher. Dean fighting like mad to try to get to the ropes and holding on to it. Then AJ immediately slapping him back into it, only for Dean to switch over from going after the ropes to beating the holy hell out of Styles and slamming him to the mat to get him to release the hold. It felt like they were actually doing that sort of stuff. The only time in the Miz and Ziggler match where I saw that was when Miz was put in a sleeper hold by Ziggler. He reached out to the ropes and then fell to his knees, and then he almost got a power boost and just walked over and grabbed the ropes. Which is an odd thing to do for a heel. You know, Miz is being portrayed as this weak heel, and yet this is how he gets out of a submission hold through a power boost. It really didn't make any sense to me. Miz using like Maurice spraying Ziggler in the face, that made sense. That was a good heel move for him to win the match. But again, it was mostly Miz doing heel work, and most of the good heel work was directed towards a guy who can't wrestle anymore. Daniel Bryan is never going to compete again, but this match felt like it was building up to a match, while Miz was just another obstacle in the way. Like, the story here is between Miz and Daniel Bryan, and Ziggler just seems to be thrown in there for no good reason. And Ziggler really doesn't belong there. And yeah, that's the thing. I didn't give a shit about this match. And it was exactly what I expected. Really sloppy, nothing really engaging, and honestly, if you took this match off the card, it wouldn't. The show would have been fine without it. I mean, it's not the worst match I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong. There were good stuff about the match, but everyone has been praising this match so much. Even one person saying that it had shades of Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I don't see in any way how this is the case. I don't see how in any way this match was as good as everyone says it is, because it wasn't. It didn't feel like these people gave a shit. It didn't feel like this match meant anything. It was just another TV match, but since it happened to be for the championship, I expected them to do more. If this was on any other TV match, I wouldn't have cared in the slightest. It would have been just another, it's another Miz and Ziggler match. It just happens that they're thrown together. But for an Intercontinental Championship, I expected more than that. I expected intensity. I expected them to fight. I expected them to show me that they really wanted this title. And they didn't. Ambrose and Styles, on the other hand, did. Sorry, my camera was acting a bit weird there. Ambrose and Styles, on the other hand, did. They threw everything they had at each other. They fought with everything they had. You saw AJ take a really nasty bump into the steel post, head first into the steel post. You had them throwing each other all over the arena, and then Ambrose tossing him over the guardrail, then walking on the announce tables and jumping on him with his elbow. Like, he really did step up his game here, which I really liked. Same thing for AJ. AJ fucked with everything he had with the springboard 450, and the heel way he won the match. When the referee was shoved over, he gave Ambrose a kick below, or a low blow as it's called, and then hit him with the Styles Clash to win. Good work. These guys put on a really good match. It wasn't perfect, of course, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and that was match of the night for me. Miz and Ziggler was the second weakest match of the night. The weakest being Bray versus Kane, but I don't fucking see it. What exactly about Miz and Ziggler was so damn good? I don't see it. It didn't feel like it was a good match, and I really didn't care about that match. I cared about Styles and Ambrose, not just because I really wanted AJ to win, but also because they made me care. They did stuff in that match that made me care. A lot of different back and forth with ultimately a good way of telling a story. Story about how much these two are willing to fight in order to go through in order to win this match. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just really baffled that so many people think that Miz and Ziggler were so good when really they were not. I may concede that I really don't like Ziggler and Miz, and maybe I'm overthinking everything that they do, but I still don't think it was good. I still can't see how people could think that this was a great match. It wasn't in any way. At least in my opinion. I felt it was a really boring match that ultimately had heel work that ultimately leads nowhere because Daniel Bryan is never going to wrestle again, so the whole thing between him and Miz is not going to happen. If it was Shane, it might have made more sense because Shane can wrestle. Daniel Bryan physically can't. He retired, and he's going to stay retired because he's like Edge. He can't wrestle another match. But I will say this about the night. Every single person, with the exception of Kane, was the right person to win. Every championship match ended the way it should have. Becky winning the women's title. Miz retaining his Intercontinental Championship, because he, again, I do think he's doing great heel work now, and he is on a roll here. So what you need to do now is give him a credible opponent. I mean, there was a match at the pre-show between Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, with Baron Corbin winning that match. You could potentially give him an opportunity, but then again, that's heel versus heel, so it wouldn't really work. I'm not entirely sure who is going to face The Miz now, but I'm hoping for everything that they don't give Ziggler a rematch. He doesn't fucking deserve one. Slater and Rhino winning. It's like, yes, you could have used the titles to boost the Usos' new heel run, but overall, I felt like it was a nice moment. They can finally stop this whole Slater not having a contract, because honestly, we all knew he was going to probably end up on SmackDown at some point, since the other two of the Social Outcasts ended up on Raw. So yeah, it was pretty much about time that they got a good ending to this storyline, and this was pretty much it. Him not only getting to SmackDown, but also winning the title. And yeah, that was it. And like I meant, and then of course, the main event. It was a really good, compelling match. Dean really stepped up his game, because really he has not been a really good champion ever since he won the title, and I have to be honest with you. He's just not really done anything spectacular. I almost feel like he's the he's both just as bad as Roman, while at the same time the anti-Roman. Let me put it this way. Roman was a pretty boring champion. He was not interesting in the slightest, brought nothing to the table, and really should have just been left out of the title picture. But he had good matches. Ambrose had some good promos here and there, and he built some character, but there was something missing, and of course the biggest problem with him, his matches weren't good. Dean Ambrose has never been really strong when it comes to in-ring competition, and until tonight, and could very well be because of AJ that he really stepped up his game. But how many times have I said that in the video? But Dean has not really proven himself to be in a really good shape and showing off some good stuff in the ring. Well, his last title match against Ziggler was a pretty sloppy and very bad match, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't know if it was because of him or because of Ziggler, but really, Ambrose just... But I've seen the matches that he's had on TV, and he has been pretty dull in terms of the matches he's had. And really, I think a lot of people wanted Styles to win just to end his title reign, which is a shame, because I feel like Ambrose has the potential to be a good champion if he was allowed to have a little bit more leeway with his promos. Like, he sounded very scripted sometimes in his promos, like he didn't really care what he was talking about. There was only a few times he got thrown a few good lines, but for the most part it felt like he was just reading a bad script and didn't really care for it. While AJ was putting his heart and soul into his promos. And this is really the thing that makes me think that giving AJ Styles the title is a really good move, because AJ has built his character over a long period of time and has really started to pick up a lot of momentum. He's good on the mic, and he's really good in the ring, so... sorry about that. So yeah. AJ Styles is most likely. I think Styles has a very good chance of becoming a white champion. I know there's going to be a rematch, and I'm hoping that they still keep the intensity that they had in this match, or that they step up their game and do something even better. But overall, they did really well, and I still can't believe I'm saying this, but Mr. TNA, the guy who has won most championship all over the world, probably the biggest international, the guy that you would know outside of WWE, is now the WWE champion. AJ Styles is the WWE champion. I still can't fucking believe it. Raw, top that.